where hopefully we have a productive discussion.
Yes.
We rationalize our positions, reason them on controversial topics. Before I get to the premise of today, could you do me a favor just so we can find some common ground?
Yeah.
This is what's being cited right now quite a bit. Just the definition of political violence. I want to make sure we both agree on it.
Political violence are criminal complaints, indictments, and court records looking for crimes that seek a socio-political change or to communicate to outside audience.
And I'll summarize it. That's the technical description from the source cited.
Yeah.
It's violence as a tool being used toward a political end. In other words, just because you vote Democrat or because you vote Republican, if you accidentally hit someone with your car and commit manslaughter, that's not political violence. If you vote Democrat, but let's say you go out and run someone over because of their politics, that would be political violence. Do we agree on that?
I think I can agree with you on that.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So the premise today is that particularly today in 2025, by and large, the political violence is coming from the left. It's not proportionate with that on the right. That's the reason for the security that you see today that's very necessary. And it's a problem that's reaching a boiling point that may not be sustainable. If you disagree with me, you're welcome to change my mind.
I don't know if I can change your mind, because here's the thing. When I see the sign that says the left is violent, and you talked about how it's not proportional, and I would love to see your statistics about that, because we could make the same statement about the right very easily, right? Like we could say that was it just a month or two ago that the Democratic lawmakers were shot, and that was like, all right. I think our bigger problem is that the
Talk about the Hortmans in Minnesota, right?
Right, yeah, because she was a senator and her husband was also killed, and that was done by the right, whatever. But
it wasn't. But continue.
Oh, that wasn't a It wasn't a conservative or.
No, that's why I used the example that I did. The person, Vance Bolter, who committed it, specifically said it had nothing to do with politics, and he left a letter reasoning it, saying that Tim Walz had ordered him to carry a hit out on people. So he was very clear that it wasn't in the name of politics. That's someone who happened to be, on some issues, Republican, on some issues, Democrat. And he was appointed by a Tim Walz administration. So that was not done in the name of political violence. He said Tim Walz ordered him to assassinate somebody who was out of his mind. But I'd like you to continue with the example.
Sure. And let's say, so he wasn't right. That's fine.
No, it wasn't political violence.
It wasn't political. Oh, it didn't count as political violence.
Sorry, excuse me, something completely off topic, but look at this person. She I thought it was a woman. She sounds like a woman. She has a feminine voice, but she has a beard, right? Or am I the only one who is like seeing this? This is like, she has more hair on her chin than me. This is so confusing, and I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be mean. Don't get me wrong, but I really thought this was a woman. But now maybe this is like, how do they call it? Like a non-binary person? Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, wow, like, I just see this now. And like, I think it makes the conversation a lot more interesting, but this is just my opinion. Let's see. Like, look at it.
Based on the definition you agreed to, right?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is there's so many things happening. It's actually really hard to get all the facts about everything.
Sure.
And our media is when they make these statements or they start to postulate about an event, and it will become political before we've even fully fleshed everything out. Like.
Could you give me an example?
Well, like the shooting that happened at the church yesterday, I haven't seen enough. I don't know. Have you seen any media on it yet? I'm curious to know what the media is saying
quite a bit
about it. And I want to know how are they characterizing it?
Yeah, the media isn't characterizing, even, I will say this, even on the left and the right, they're not really characterizing that as political violence.
Okay.
Because it was a guy who really seemed to harbor ill will toward the Mormon church. So it's pretty hard to categorize it as political violence when the targets were largely conservative, and the man who carried out the action seems like he might be a Republican. But I think we could pick a more clear example, a multitude of them. The reason we're here, and I don't think you would argue that this is unnecessary, the assassination in cold blood is an act of terrorism of Charlie Kirk. Is that political violence? You seem so confident on the Hortmans, but not Charlie Kirk.
I would say, I was just thinking about your question. Probably because he was like Turning Point USA is a conservative organization, right? That's meant to try and rally young conservatives and be involved. And so, I would probably agree that his death was
Death.
political, or his
Yeah.
murder,
Yeah.
assassination was politically violent. But I guess I just have a hard time reconciling that with, we can say that the senator and her husband being killed wasn't political, but
I'll tell you exactly why. I'll tell you exactly why. Because the express motive of the terrorist who assassinated Charlie Kirk was politics. He killed him because he said he's one of those hateful conservative right-wingers. The rhetoric that he espoused, the reason that he killed Charlie Kirk, was to take out someone of his political persuasion and make others of his political persuasion afraid to express their opinions. The man who assassinated, which I roundly condemn, Vance Bolter, the Hortmans, did not do it as a means to a political end. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He is not an elected official solely because of his political perspective as a method to instill terror.
Spot on. Like seriously, Charlie Kirk was killed because of his opinions, because of his visions. This is the reason why he was murdered. Seriously, even the bullets, the guy who killed, like the murderer of Charlie Kirk, he wrote even like anti-fascist things like this on his bullets. So he even like he proved himself, or like he gave the evidence away that it was a political assassination. Like seriously. And of course, like Charlie Kirk was not a political figure, but he was very powerful. He was speaking a lot about politics, and this is the main reason why this person did this to him, because this left freak was very scared about Charlie's opinion and the influence he had. Because Charlie Kirk, don't get me wrong, he had a lot of followers, so he had a lot of influence, and all these left-wing people, they were probably very scared about him influencing other people with his conservative ideas. And this is the reason why they literally, they just want to like make him stop speaking. So this is exactly the reason why they did this. Because they can debate him, they are too coward to debate him, to like talk with him. So then this is the only solution left. So then this is exactly what they did with him. And I'm confused that this woman is saying probably. It's not probably. It's 100% sure.
In the populace.
yeah.
How do I know? Because a person said it was political violence.
Okay, what if we just don't even have enough information, though? Like, what if it is politically motivated and we just don't have enough to know about it yet?
In that case, we do.
Well, not in this particular instance, but I just mean like with the Hortmans you mentioned.
Okay, well, let's separate the gray area.
Okay.
Right, that's why I kind of start with the example. Just because you, I would assume, let's say, vote Democrat or Republican, just because you commit a crime doesn't make it political violence. I mean, if we did that, we'd have 90% of the crime being committed on behalf of the Democrat Party, because most people in inner cities vote Democrat. I don't consider that to be political violence. People have political beliefs, and people commit violence. Sometimes they rob a store because they want money. People who commit political violence do so specifically to instill fear in political opposition. They specifically commit violence as a means to a political end.
Okay.
And when we categorize it that way, it's overwhelmingly coming from the left. We do have the sources here that we make this available, so you can take the QR code. So what would make you, because you seem very confident that the Hortmans was political violence, and then it's nuanced with Charlie Kirk. Why?
Oh, I didn't say it was nuanced at all with Charlie Kirk. I agreed with you after considering your question that it was a political.
If that doesn't constitute political violence that could be answered in the affirmative immediately, of course, what would? Like, what would be required to say, oh, this is clearly an act of political violence or political terrorism, if not Charlie Kirk?
I agreed that it was political violence, so I'm not sure where this question is coming from.
Well, I'm saying because you came in and pointed to an example that would be in the gray area, the Hortmans, and took a long time to agree with that premise of Charlie Kirk. And so what if we don't know enough information? So Charlie Kirk would be very clear left-wing political violence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Great.
Yes.
So there are more examples of that coming from the left than the right. That's the premise, yes.
Okay. So you're saying clear examples of political violence. I hear you using clear
violence carried out as a means to a political end.
So there's clear information, data that shows us that the left is violent or is more violent than the right.
Yes. Not only in crime statistics, but also in the polling after Charlie Kirk's death. Now, I believe that you're discussing this in good faith, and I would assume that you roundly condemn political violence of all stripes.
Of course.
So do I. Just to be clear, I think we both are. That's why we're sitting at a table having a conversation.
Right.
Do you identify as more liberal or conservative?
I like to think I'm moderate because I hold some conservative views and some liberal views.
Okay.
And I wish we could have a little bit more moderation in our country.
Like sitting down and having discussions?
Exactly.
Okay.
Like things like this.
Because we get killed for it anyway.
Right.
And
Yeah.
only the right. Only the right gets killed for this anyway. You're seeing the one that got through. The reason I stopped doing this for years is because every single time out was a violent attack. Sometimes it was a rock. Sometimes it was a milkshake, could be concrete, acid, chocolate, vanilla, I don't know. Doxing, fire bombings, Molotov cocktails. Maya Angelou spoke at SMU only a few years before my first time here, didn't need this kind of security. And you can see it if you observe your speakers here. And I'll tell you why that is. If you look at the polls post-assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you label yourself as a moderate, those who identify as liberal support political violence at a ratio of 6-1 to conservatives. The YouGov poll said, is political violence acceptable? 77% of conservatives said not at all. Only 38% of those on the left said not at all. 62% of those on the left said somewhat to completely acceptable. We see the same stats after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We see the same stats after the fire bombings of the Tesla dealership. And we see the same stats on the opposite side, those on the right roundly condemning political violence. The lowest you'll find is 72. You usually find it in the high 80s. You will not find a number that breaks half on the left.
Okay, you mentioned Donald Trump. Can we jump to that for just a minute?
Donald Trump, sure. I assumed we would.
Well, because I thought that guy was a registered Republican, and then he maybe
Which guy?
donated the guy who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I'm really terrible at names.
Oh, Crooks.
Yeah, that he was a registered Republican. So would you consider him a act of violence on the left or on the right?
I would consider the attempted assassination of a presidential nominee political violence, yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, like, what is this for stupid question? The assassination of the president, asking if that's political violence. Of course, that's the biggest example of political violence. Like, what else do you need more? Like, come on. And if she is asking, like, she is like asking and like insinuating that like the guy who killed Donald Trump, that he was probably a right-winger, a conservative Republican. Come on, like, do you really think that a Republican would kill the leader of the Republican Party? Just think about this. And like, everyone can have his own opinion, but I highly doubt that. And this Thomas Crooks or Tim Crooks or whatever his name was, I forgot already, and it's good. Like, I don't even want to remember his name anymore. Was extreme left. You can see on everything, just the looks, everything. Like, you can see, in 5 seconds, you can see these people if they are right-wingers or left-wingers. But this is just my opinion. And it's insane that she's even asking this question. It just shows you, like, how smart this person is.
I don't know if you know this, there are a lot of people on the right who don't like Donald Trump.
Yes, I do know a few of them. Yeah.
Political violence isn't just Republican, Democrat. That's why I say left versus right.
Okay.
Those on the right are more routinely targets, and it's very blatant. People can say he was a registered Republican. That doesn't change the fact that it was an act of political violence carried out against Donald Trump, who's a conservative.
Yes.
Politician, whatever term you want to use.
Well, I guess, but if the argument is the left is violent, and I'm just thinking about this guy's, political background from the person. I hear what you're saying, that the right is targeted more often.
Yeah, we're the victims of political violence.
More often, and
much more.
So, would you classify that specific incident as violence of the right or of the left?
Well, the target is the right. The target was Donald Trump. So the net result is the same. We are often the targets of violence.
Yeah, but the left,
including someone who may be a moderate Republican. Yeah, the left is still overwhelmingly violent. And I point to those polls that you can peruse from YouGov, from Reuters, not bastions of conservatism, along with the rhetoric since then. Here's the one thing that you can't point me to. And we can go through the stats. And I know you've probably heard from those on the left that actually there's more right-wing political violence. They're often circulating that right now. I can disabuse you of that notion relatively quickly. I think we'd find common ground there. You still can't point me to an example that is comparable on the right of Charlie Kirk, someone who was not an elected official, a public figure who was really notable for nothing more than expressing his opinion and having conversations, who was assassinated in cold blood and then gleefully celebrated thereafter from the left. And I hope that as someone who's moderate, you understand why that's so concerning to us on the right. When we host vigils and memorials, and the left is so completely fearless of their own consequences that they kill one of ours, and show up to the memorials and vigils and desecrate and vandalize. That is the information that creates the powder keg.
Yeah.
The only off-ramp would have been, hey, we kept saying that people like Charlie Kirk, by the way, he was much more moderate than I am. I am Genghis Khan or Attila the Hun compared to Charlie Kirk, but I will have conversations with anyone. I just want to be very clear. So I know that plenty of people would gleefully celebrate my death, my murder, for doing this exact same thing. The only off-ramp would have been the left saying, look, we've called Donald Trump and his voters and Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder and whoever on the right, Tucker Carlson, take your pick, Sargon of Akkad, everyone. Ben Shapiro, we've called them fascists, we've called them Nazis, we've said that they want to commit a genocide because they don't want to transition children, we've called them racist because they support the police in an era of defund the police, and my God, people out there actually believe it. It's incumbent upon us to tone this down and say, You know what? They're not fascist. We made these people believe that this guy would never relinquish the reins of power. How do you deal with fascists? You can't do it at a ballot box. If I believed that there was an actual government right now that was executing blacks, as the left has said about the police force, if I believed that there was a leftist government that was actually fascist, that would jail any and all political dissidents, if I believed that the left was committing a genocide against white conservative Christian men, and if I believed that that administration would never host a democratic election again, I'd be out in the streets with a gun. You have a huge portion of Democrats who believe that about Donald Trump and his voters.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you saying that people believe that.
I believe you. This is just a fact. Like, this is not, you don't have to believe him. Like, this is a fact. And also, like, this other person, I feel like she never replies with a good answer. She just says, like, yeah, I believe you. That's not a real answer. Answer his questions. Isn't it very concerning that so many people, first of all, with Charlie Kirk, exactly, I agreed with what he said first, that there are so many left-wing people who were celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Isn't that insane? With other words, all these people, they agree with the violence, they agree with what happened to Charlie Kirk, and there were thousands of them, thousands of them, on TikTok, Instagram, social media, everywhere. You can people destroying the memorials. That just shows you already enough. I don't see right-wing people doing this when something happened with a left-wing with a left-wing person. I never see right-wing people celebrating their death. And don't get me wrong, you for sure have some crazy lunatics on the right as well, like who do, but they are very small numbers compared to like the left wing. This is just a fact. This is not an opinion. This is a fact. And like what he just said, like I completely agree with Steven. Like respect for Steven, what he is saying. And like I've this other person, like he, she, it, I don't even know how to call it, but she never replies with a good answer. Like why can she not like reply to those very important questions? It annoys me a little bit.
Absolutely.
That's very different between the right and the left, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know, Stephen. It feels like it's so polarized right now. It's even hard to find common ground on anything. You know, like I was just thinking about the sign, and it's that the left is violent.
Yes.
Then when I sit down, it's actually the left is politically violent, and so it's kind of it's a modifier, right? We're modifying our conversation a little bit, and so.
No, what I'm doing is matching the intensity and the rhetoric of the left. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have said the right is violent. The political right is violent. And I'm doing what they are unwilling to do, which is sit down and have a conversation. I don't believe it's nuanced. I believe there's black and white, pretty clear-cut good and evil in this one. I believe there's pretty black and white, clear-cut who's responsible for the political violence. But I will discuss it with anybody. So did Charlie Kirk. And they kill us anyway. So I'm matching their rhetoric that I can fit on a sign, but I'm doing the work that the left is not willing to do and having a conversation. But I don't know where we go from if we have these conversations and short of a brigade coming in, we get assassinated. The left doesn't fear that.
Very, very good point. And also just like he just walked away, but if you look around him, he has 4, 5, maybe 6 security guards around him. You should ask yourself why. Because left-wing people, if they want to discuss something openly, they don't need 6 security guards. I don't even have to explain this. Look what happened with Charlie Kirk. That says enough. But anyway, Steven is a legend. Like, respect for doing this work. Very good. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like this video, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And last but not least, guys, I wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.